taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for April 21st, 2018. My name is Ashton, powered by Pure Hype as always, and I'm here, as always, with Obsidian. How are you today, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing not too bad on this Saturday morning. I still don't know what I feel about moving the podcast to a Saturday morning when I could be sleeping. But,
You can sleep anytime.
Yes, yeah, I could sleep anytime. So, well, not anytime.
Not while driving, not recommended.
Yeah, no, not while driving. Yeah, or flying, or doing anything that could immediately cause the death of lots and lots of people. So,
all right, yeah. So today, got some interesting news today. Actually, we're going to be discussing a lot of rumors that are floating around Starfield and also various things that Bethesda is supposedly going to be doing at E3. And the rumors are just flying. So we've got a lot of things that we need to discuss, a few things to debunk, and we're also going to be talking about Anthem and what's going on with that. The developers have supposedly shifted focus to focus on a more story-driven, immersive world, as opposed to what exactly, I wonder. What were you going for?
Well, what they were headed towards was going to be basically just this really cash shop heavy version of Destiny, and much to the chagrin of many employees, and much to the chagrin of the writers, and much to the chagrin of their player base and their tester base, was saying, guys, we're headed towards chaos.
We are headed towards a crash landing. We'll just pick up with that in just a second here. I want to say hello to Tomer and hello to Notional. Welcome to the chat. If you're listening live, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. Super chats and questions from patrons are guaranteed to be read out loud on today's show as long as they conform to the basic standards of human decency. But of course they will, because you are all decent human beings. We have a very excellent online community, I would say. Our Discord community is growing week by week, where it's growing significantly, and I'm just finding it to be a great place to hang out and chat with people. No toxicity, none of that garbage that you sometimes get. So thank you all for that so much. So, all right, please continue what you were saying about Anthem.
Notional has actually asked a very good question in the chat, and that is, what kind of game is Starfield even? Is it like Mass Effect or what? And this could actually be asked of Anthem as well, because I feel that there is this burst that we're getting right now of sci-fi and or kind of cyberpunkish games. We've got a lot of this kind of stuff coming out shortly. And it's interesting to see the various different studios' takes on what they're doing. So we're definitely we've been hearing these rumors for a really long time. Some of them have been completely shot down, and others have found, we've been finding them coming back again and again and again. And that's mainly the rumors around Starfield. That studio is like a vault. I have no good connections at Bethesda, because they are a very small community that inside that studio. They're very tight, and they're very honest people, and they're also very loyal to Todd, and so that makes getting any news out of anybody at that studio to be incredibly impossible. In fact, as we've seen, a lot of these leaks have come from either some people, essentially like family members, or people who are really close to somebody who works there, or they're getting their information from briefs that are similar to what a lawyer or a marketing campaign would get. And I feel like, especially some of the more older rumors on Starfield, a lot of the information has come out, and the way that it's been detailed and the way it's been talked about is what you would find in a preliminary advertising package that goes to a bunch of advertisers, and they start putting together several different pitches for the studio to invest in as far as like their advertising campaign or their marketing campaign, because not all studios have their own dedicated exclusive marketing group and organization that is set apart from the rest of the process, and how, when you start up an advertising campaign, how that works with like dealing with studio, like television studios and internet groups and magazine groups, or all that kind of stuff. So this is something that most smaller studios don't have the ability to do, so they have to outsource some of this marketing campaign stuff, including pitches and stuff. And so that's what we've seen a lot of the leaks coming around, is stuff that you would get if you were in that position, if you were, say, a lawyer, or if you were, say, an intern at a company, and you happened to see this big binder that said, Bethesda Studios,
Top secret.
essentially top secret. You signed an NDA and whatever, so you can only allude to a handful of things, and the information on what you're given is actually pretty small.
Yeah.
But it's more
just
of
what you
like
need
a
to
short,
know. Just
yeah.
what you need to know to do your
It's
job.
like
Nothing more. Yeah.
a short outline, basically. And so that's what we've been getting as far as these leaks goes. We've been getting this handful of stuff that kind of pops out and says, "Oh, hey, look at this. This is this, and this is that," and you're sitting there going, I wonder if any of this is true at all. And so we have to look at it, and we really have to like dig deep and say,
And
are we getting something that's accurate, or is some of this stuff kind of generally misleading, maybe?
how much of it is actually information that's come from the company, and how much of it is stuff that people are reading into what's come out of the company. And that's where,
And
so a lot of rumors starts. Well, for example, Pete Hines says, "Oh, this is hell on earth time," with us at, preparing for E3. And people are taking that to mean, oh, they're going to be announcing Doom 2.
yeah, well, not only announcing Doom 2, but like there's now saying, oh, they're going to release Doom 2. Doom just came out. Like, that game's not even like, they had they had stuff coming out for that last year. So I find it somewhat difficult I mean, it's not exactly a deep, nor is it a difficult game to make an expansion to, if you're not going to be changing up a vast majority of the stuff. So that does make sense, in the sense that it probably isn't some kind of a massive thing. So
Yeah, yeah. So unless it's basically built on the same engine, so it's basically an expansion or glorified DLC. Yeah, it's probably not going to see that. I mean, now they might. It could be that. It could be that. But I mean,
yeah.
That's. I mean, basically, we're making a lot of assumptions if we say, oh yeah, that means they're going to announce Doom 2. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could see them doing that, just dropping tiny little hints like that, but I don't know.
Yeah. So we start with that kind of premise of like, okay, so not everything that we're getting is necessarily solid information, and so we have to take certain things with a grain of salt. The other thing that you have to be aware of is that if a company is switching to, say, they're looking for a bigger or a better company with which to do marketing campaigns with, sometimes they will send them incorrect information because they're sending it to like 10 different places. So they send 10 different this is an old trick, but it was featured in Game of Thrones a couple of years ago, so it's a good one to mention. It's the Game of Thrones trick, where you send off 10 briefs that are completely different to one person, or to 10 different people from the one studio, from Bethesda Studios. They said no, 10 things to 10 different marketing studios, and whichever one leaks the information, not to use, if you want to keep things secret. So this is also a possibility. Now, it's usually not 10, it's usually like 2 or 3. but that's entirely possible as well. So the other thing that we have to remember is that potentially all information on this game has in fact been false, and there is a small, tiny little possibility. It's not outside the realm of possibilities, especially with Todd Howard, where Starfield might not actually be a new game. It might just be Elder Scrolls 6. Um, I do have to admit that as a possibility, because um, they have done similar tactics before, and it wouldn't be the first time somebody used this kind of a tactic in things. Oh yeah, we're working on something else. We're working on something else. We're working on something else. Yeah, we don't want to work on that. We don't want to work on the sequel. We want to work on something else, and then ta-da, it's the sequel.
But they know that people are scrutinizing
Yes.
their trademarks, things like that. So
Yes. So
that is a possibility. We're not saying that's a likely possibility. We're not saying that's what it is. But
it's a really, really small possibility. And as far as Starfield stands, enough evidence has come out that we can say for sure that I believe that they are incorporating a third IP. Whether or not they're incorporating that fourth IP, now that's the question that I find hard to believe. Or not hard to believe, but it's easier to critique that one. Why would they work on 4 different things when they should be sticking with just the 2 or the 3? 4 seems like a bit of a stretch. So then their next title may in fact be Elder Scrolls 6.
So Tomer, we're not saying that Bethesda's done this tactic before, but it has been done before. Example.
Oh no, they used this tactic.
Has
just
Bethesda?
Like a year before they released Fallout 4, they said they weren't working on Fallout 4. So, well, they didn't. They were like, oh yeah, it'll be something else. It'll be something else. They kept that one really quiet, and then we got that teaser, and then we got the big reveal, and everybody was flabbergasted, because that it had been like believed for quite a while that they were working on something else, and there were a few people going, no, they're definitely working on Fallout 4, and yeah.
You know what's funny, Notional? The video that we released this week mocking the over speculation about Bethesda's E3 stuff. I wanted to make a joke title saying, "Yeah, Bethesda announces Skyrim 2." I kind of wanted to put that in the title, and
I shot that down real fast.
Saib warned me that would be we would get
like a
severe.
Thing.
That would be, we'd get severely hated for that. But I thought the idea of Skyrim 2 would be really funny.
We already had somebody who messaged us and said, "This is don't do this. This is you stop hyping pointlessly and making these ridiculous accusations and stuff like that." And we're like, yeah, that's why we made this video, because this is insanity. There are people claiming that we're going to get Fallout 5 and Elder Scrolls 6 out this year. There are actually people who believe this, because they're insane, because they think that Bethesda has turned into this 2,000 man or person team of developers working round the clock, pumping out, they're going to now be pumping out 3 AAA titles a year. It's like, come on, guys, come on. But there are actually people who believe that. So yeah, we wanted to kind of poke fun at that, and some people didn't get the joke. So saying Skyrim 2, you bet we'd get a flack for that.
Yeah.
I mean, on Gus Sorolla from Rooster Teeth, he made a joke about that in a podcast a couple of years ago, and he got lambasted on Twitter for like a good day. And it's not that he made it as a joke and he stuck with it for the duration of the podcast. He made the joke, and then about 5 minutes later, he was like, "Yeah, that's obviously a joke." But people couldn't even listen to that point where he's like, I don't even think it was 5 minutes. I think it was like 20 seconds later. He's like, yeah, that's something that people hate saying, and we'll get you lambasted. And he got lambasted for even suggesting it. So yeah, anyways.
Fair enough. And Tomer, I mean, you're right. We don't want to treat rumor as fact.
No.
We should try and find the original source on that, if it still exists. Like we had this debate, actually, you and I, a little while ago, Saib, about, because I couldn't find a source, but
Well, that's the trouble of finding articles like about something pre to whatever. That now there were a few that I linked you, and anyways, this is a pointless topic. I don't want to stay on it.
anyway.
So as far as Starfield goes and what we know about it is we know that it's going to be a sci-fi-ish themed thing. It's going to be it's not going to be like Fallout, because that would kind of step onto Fallout. We can expect probably some like, there's a good chance that it's going to be a lot cleaner, a lot fancier, maybe something a little bit more like Prey as far as like the environment and the look and the style. But again, that would kind of step on Prey's feet. So
Prey
quite possibly not.
was very highly stylized though.
Yeah.
And
So then you have a couple other options as to what they could do. But one thing that I need to address here is that, and they got this wrong on Glitch, please, speaking of Rooster Teeth, they got this wrong. Somebody said, oh, there was randomly generated dungeons in Skyrim. And I'm like, there's never been randomly generated dungeons in Skyrim. Where are you getting this
in
idea
Skyrim?
from?
No.
Yeah,
In
no,
Daggerfall, yes. Daggerfall had it wasn't procedurally. It was procedurally generated in development.
Mm-hmm.
That's the closest they've ever come.
Yeah, but they haven't. There's no mechanic to procedurally generate content within Skyrim, or within Fallout 4, or within any of the recent games. Like they use procedural generation to create the map sometimes, or to create a general like concept for the map, or certain areas and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But not.
But
if you're talking about in-game, like the game is generating dungeons, so you basically have infinite dungeons to explore. Don't think Bethesda's engine is capable of that, and we're pretty sure that it's going to be the same engine, an improved version of it, but the same engine that was used for Fallout 4 and for Skyrim.
Yeah, so that's
Radiant quests. Yeah, I mean, Radiant quests are a little different, though. I mean, they're not generating an area. They're saying, go to this area, collect X, kill Y, and then come back here. And so the engine can pick a place, like it's got a library of places that you can select this places. It spawns a bunch of enemies there, or it spawns an item there. But even then, you've got a set number of places that it can pick from, and a set number of things you can do, which is why the Radiant quests in Fallout 4 start to feel like you're doing the same thing all the time, because essentially you are. So, procedurally generating a location in-game is a much more complicated endeavor.
Yeah, and their engine is not capable of that. Now, they may have been able to add that in within the last like 5-6 years of working on this particular thing and getting it prepped. That is a possibility. That's a strong possibility, but it's very doubtful, because the engine is not a big upgrade from Fallout 4. It's been upgraded in some small areas. It has not been upgraded overall. So I feel that as far as like visually, and as far as like the feel and this game will feel like Skyrim and like Fallout 4 in a lot of the bad areas that those games feel like similar. It'll feel similar in the good ways as well, but it'll feel really similar in some of the like janky controls and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
What do you think the chance they don't announce Starfield or the next big game they're working on at E3? Well, I would say if they value their
impossible at this point.
if they like having jobs, they probably will announce whatever's.
And this is something that needs to be pointed out, because there's been a couple of people who just recently with this latest, like with the 1 million tweet thing, there was some people going, oh hey look, they made this announcement, and I think this means that we're for sure going to see something at E3. they announced that months ago when they put out that trailer for Bethesda at E3. They said we're bringing something new and amazing from Bethesda Studios. So from the studios that brought you Skyrim and Fallout, they are bringing a new surprise. Is that surprise going to be Skyrim released for the eighth time? Is that Fallout 3 going to be, or Fallout 4 going to be released for the second or third time? Is that going to be Fallout 3 being, remastered? That's not something new. That's not new. That's old and repetitive, which is what they were hammered with last year. So this concept that there's nothing new coming is not no. Is that we know that they're due for another game, especially considering how they've increased the people at the studio, how they've been hiring for the last couple of years. And yeah, so it's, I mean, I would easily put down, if I was a gambling person, I would put down a lot of money on the fact that they are going to release a new title this year from Bethesda Studios.
Bethesda Game Studios.
Um,
Plus, their
yeah,
subsidiaries and sister studios are going to. There's going to be a ton of stuff, and like Tomer points out, Pete Hines said, hopefully there's something there for you, no matter what kind of game you're into, and also no matter what device you play games on.
mm-hmm.
So that suggests to me that they've got something for everything, including mobile. So,
Yeah.
So mobile, you'll have console games, you'll have PC games, probably something for the Switch, although that'll probably be ports. But
Yeah.
I doubt they.
Now I've heard this rumor too quite a bit, is that Bethesda's coming out with Morrowind or Oblivion or Fallout 3 doing big remasters. That is not likely yet. Doing remasters of older games is something that you do when that game is is considerably old. Now those games are considerably old, but in the case of Fallout 3, for example, there's only one title between that one and the current generation. So there's only Fallout 4, because they don't own New Vegas in the traditional sense. Uh, they're not going to release Fallout 4 and then release remastered Fallout 3. That's not something that you do. That's something that you do once you've made Fallout 5 or Fallout 6. That's when you go back and you rebrush and you recreate something like that. Because if all you're doing is essentially adding like a little bit more poly count, I mean, especially for those games, it's like you can do that with mods already existing. You can make it look pretty new. So that is highly unrealistic and highly that's just like commercially, it's a really really bad idea. So do not assume that.
I get the feeling we're going to see a lot of new stuff because they didn't have much last year, and they know they didn't have much, and they know that their fans were disappointed.
And now Pete has been saying that they've been working on this new presentation since September of last year.
Yeah.
So they have been working very hard. They've been working on it basically after the summer rush. They have been putting full bore into this big presentation. You don't do that for a couple of re-releases and a new like mobile game.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
There's going to be something big.
You're going to have a AAA title that's new if you're putting that amount of time and effort into it. If they come out with basically a little less than what they came out with last year, the studio, the players are going to basically revolt. They're going to riot. They're going to be like, okay, well, we're not supporting you until you actually come out with a game. Don't tell us you've got a big announcement coming ever again, because all of your, we have a big announcement coming has been complete garbage up to this point. That's what would happen if they did that, but I really that is not going to happen because they're not that stupid. They're not stupid people. They're smart people. Last year there was considerable amount of feedback and buzz from people who were close to the studio, who said that the studio was disappointed with the way that E3 presentation went off, and they will not do anything like that again. They'd rather not show up than to have a showing like that again. They would rather not make a big deal about a handful of re-releases than try to make a big deal about a handful of re-releases.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't.
Tomer asks, what tells us that working on E3 since September is not normal?
That's for big studios. That is pretty normal, but only for AAA's. That is, you don't have your core team, especially your lead team, on the PR front. You don't have them working for 7-8 months for nothing. Like that's just not something that you waste resources on.
I have last year's presentation did not look like 9 months of work, unless, as we suspect, there was something in there that got cut out at the last minute.
Which we've heard from numerous sources that are close enough to be able to confirm. Like they're close enough to Pete and to Todd that we can look at what they're saying and we can say yeah. And I've gotten that from multiple
Mm-hmm.
people in the industry who said yes, and that's a prevailing thought. Like I mean, I'm not the only person with that. There's a lot of people who are saying the same thing.
Yeah, and there was some circumstantial evidence as well. So
mm-hmm.
it does appear that was the case. But I mean, we get the impression they're putting a lot of work into it, and I'm very excited to see what they bring. I think they're going to work hard to top last year. Not hard to top last year, but they'll probably try to match 2015 this year, is my suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, great questions. Thank you so much for the activity in chat. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S fans about all the stuff we love to talk about and meet people to game with, stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. All right, so let's move on to...
Yeah, next big topic is EA. Oh, EA. I'd say how the mighty have fallen, but let's be real, you were never mighty to begin with. EA has the dubious honor of being the worst company in America. That's
quite a statement.
This is a regular thing that has happened to them on several occasions, and this last little bit here of them having this potentially devastating loss. And let's be real, they lost any company that loses close to 6% of their stock earnings. That is not a small hiccup that you can shrug off. That is several prominent stockholders, who own significant amounts of money in it, to the point where they're known by the CEO. It's those people calling the CEO and giving them crap for 40-50 minutes at a time and not taking no for an answer, or somebody like bursting into the office, throwing a stack of papers at somebody going, what the hell are you guys doing? Because they're of companies that lose overnight like 6% of their stock price. Not a lot of those companies manage to pull that through and to become better. That is often a death knell, like flag. And if the company does not get on it and get on it fast, that usually starts a domino effect that ends up destroying companies. Pretty basic economics 101. This is kind of more or less how it works. So the question now comes to, well, what were they in this much trouble? Yes. What made their stock rally back up again in the last couple months, considering that EA has not at all released anything major in the time between Battlefront and that loss? When the stock kind of went down and then came back again, they didn't release a major product. They didn't have a major announcement. They just rallied. Why was that? Well, if you listen to some stock stuff and you listen to some stuff that we talked about before, is that there was this potential, like people talking about the fact that they might sell out to Microsoft. And if they sold out to Microsoft, then their stock price would go up about 20-30%. The buyout would happen, and then the stock would readjust under the new wing of Microsoft. because there's a buyout that has to happen, and the board has to vote on that. And when a stock goes down and there's a potential buyout offer on the table, as soon as any major investor hears that, or even hears a whisper of that, you bet you they're going to buy into that, because that is a potential, major investment. And we did see kind of that. If you look at, I don't want to get boring into the stock and economics, but essentially, um, there was this little dip, and so there was still some problems. And the fact that there was reportedly a phone call from, Disney to them, and the fact that there was some other stuff, has made them say we need to do better and we need to change things up. So they made this big announcement just the other day that they are promising to do better. So there's big articles posted everywhere saying that EA has promised to do things better. A lot of the company management has been moved around. There were some firings from what I've heard. I haven't been able to confirm who was fired from what positions, but it's coming through on multiple channels that there were some firings, that there were some people that were removed from certain positions. There were people that were put into newly created positions. And I think that that is, sure, some of that's probably for show, for their investors, saying, look, we're on top
Look,
of
we're
it.
doing things. See?
Yeah, we're doing things. We're gonna be better. We're gonna make money again. Don't worry, things are going great. Look at the stock price. This is going well. That's going well.
I have
So they're really
rearranged the chess pieces on the board.
yeah. So they've really gone out of their way to make a big statement that they are going to do better, and the Bioware, especially working on Anthem, is going to be affected by this as well. Same with uh, their their shooter, their World War II shooter. Um, that they are going to be better. They're going to strive to do better things, and they're not going to incorporate like this, casino essentially into their next series of games, despite the fact that, up to 5 6 uh, up to about 8 9 months ago, there was a lot of talk coming out of Bioware, from certain developers, that it was looking basically going to be just a Destiny clone with a lot of microtransactions.
Huh.
And I think there was this report that we heard. We heard it. We reported on it pretty early, and then it got reported by a bunch of other places that there was a big meeting called in Bioware, and they essentially had to re-roll that whole aspect of the game that they were working. So they have started to work on that, and pulled that back a lot, and then there's other things that they're starting to work on. So where does this leave Anthem?
Well, there was a report that's been reported all over the place this past couple of days, that they're shifting the focus of Anthem. They're going to be focusing. The devs are focusing on more of a story-driven game, and they're focusing a lot on world building.
So they're trying to get this game back to where Mass Effect was, or where it should be, and
where it was pre Andromeda, or pre
yeah.
Mass Effect 3 maybe.
So they're really starting to push this direction that, hold on, we are going to bring this back, and we're going to make this great. We're going to make this awesome. Do not fear, we're going back to the roots. And from what I've heard from, as some of you may know, we were pretty close with some of the people at Bioware. What we've heard is that there's been a lot of refocusing, and there's been a lot of, in the last 2 months, there's been a lot of refocusing. They had some pretty negative press come out about the game and about Bioware in the last couple of months, and it has really affected the company, and has really affected morale. And so they're saying again that we're refocusing, that we want this to be amazing. Now, I don't necessarily trust that when that comes from studio heads at EA, because what do they know? They don't even work there. What does an EA executive know about a studio on the ground floor of the testing department? What do they know from that? They know from a report that was filed to somebody else, that was filed to somebody else, that was translated by somebody else to somebody else, and then given to them. That's what they know about what's going on the ground floor at these studios. That's why you have these big studios that just bomb their projects like Scalebound. where it falls apart because the issues that are on the ground floor where there's a lot of problems are saying, hey, this has to be redone. Hey, this is not working the way it should. This is going wrong. This is going wrong. And, 10 translation reports later at the top, you're getting, oh yeah, it'll be great. It'll be out by the spring.
Right.
That's what you get. And you're like, oh yeah, sure. And then you as the CEO of the big company comes out and steps out and says, oh yeah, things are going to be great. And then the studio burns down. You're like, wait, what happened to that fire? Well, we sent a report saying there was a fire multiple times, and that report got changed into there was a light blaze, and then that report got changed into, well, there was some
things
some
are
small
really
fireworks.
heating up, and this is going to be great. That's what
the
the fire
final
gets
report
turned
got to
into,
you, and
yeah.
it was like, oh, we've decided to start burning scented candles in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff happens, and it kind of just falls all over itself.
But the point is that this is not coming from a head at EA. It's coming from the actual ground floor of the studio, right?
Yes, this is coming from the studio, from the ground floor. This is what the developers want you to know, is that these are the people who worked on the ground floor, that worked on Mass Effect 2, that worked on the original Dragon Age, and they feel that this game is more like that original Dragon Age, that is more like that Mass Effect 2, that it's not like Mass Effect 3, that it's not like Mass Effect Andromeda, that it's got all of this good stuff that has been coming, that has been worked on, and in the last couple of months they have really found a new, stronger feeling, especially in the last month and a half. They started to see these changes. They were promised, and now these changes have come into effect on EA's upper management level. That certain people in control have pointed out the issues at the Bioware studio. That the local people, the CEO of the Edmonton office has come out and said, look, I share your reservations, I share your disappointment, and he left the studio. He came back to kind of help the studio get under control, and I suspect strongly that he cares about his job. So he's gone out and he said, look, we're working on this, we're making this better. He said that to the people, and now we're starting to see that these are the effects that have come in. So does that mean that I'm going to pre-order Anthem? No.
Well, this is a last-minute course correction because we hit them in their wallets.
Yeah.
And this is EA that I'm talking about. I'm not blaming BioWare for this at all. BioWare is and has always been a great company.
I blame BioWare a little bit. Just a little bit.
But mostly, I mean, it's this EA stuff. We know this is where the problems are coming from. And this last-minute course correction is like, oh, okay, I'm going to be better. It's like you're... It's like your person. It's like you are in an unhealthy relationship and you call it off, and then they come back and say, "Oh, I'll be better. I'll be better. Look at these changes I'm making." It's like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it.
You go into that very tentatively, and
so
I will say this for sure. We don't. I will not encourage anybody to buy this game until I see the cash shop. I will not encourage a single person to buy or pre-order this game until they release a full list of what's in the cash shop and promising on their honor that they will not add anything on day of release going, oh hey, look, we also added this that allows you to get 10 times the loot on this, or allows you to get some big pay to win mechanic, or says there's 3 frames that you can't get that are super overpowered and we're not nerfing, but you have to spend like $80 on loot crates to even get a chance at even seeing one of them. Right. So if it's that kind of stuff, then no.
Art to Lutenin asks, can a game like Anthem really mimic Mass Effect? And I guess it's a little hard to say when we don't really know what the story is about, but we do know that Anthem kind of evolved out of Mass Effect Andromeda a little bit. it kind of took on its own life.
It kind of evolved out of that, but it also kind of evolved out of like EA saying, "Hey, we want you guys to make something that we can compete with Destiny on," because Destiny was the big thing. Like Destiny was the massive thing. Everybody wanted to do that. And now, 5 years later, they're going, "Oh, hey, turns out that was a fad that's now on the decline."
Mm-hmm.
So we're in trouble now.
So
And
it had this game just had shaky origins. It's got a shaky history. It's
Mhm.
shaky now. Now that they're like, okay, now we're gonna make it a. Oh, you guys didn't like that we were trying to sell you crap. Okay, I guess we'll make a good game. You're like, really, that's not the best business plan. Just not gonna lie. Just gonna go out on a limb. Not a business major of any sort, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that's probably not the best way to have people have confidence in your product.
Yeah. Not
No,
only that, but it's insulting, and Notional in the chat has brought this up, is that Mass Effect Andromeda was a breaking point. And it was a breaking point for me
mm-hmm.
in the sense of in this sense that they could care so less about about us as consumers, saying that, oh well, we'll buy anything as long as it's got this tag on it, and we don't have to try, we don't have to improve and perfect. We can just put this out and say, hey, look, here's your next McDonald's meal that was sitting out on the counter for 4 hours. The fries are now soggy. The hamburger has returned to its plastic nature. The chicken nuggets have now turned back to their rubber nature. And
they've reverted
and
back
yeah,
to chicken form.
eat up at a eat up at a premium restaurant cost, and you're going, no, you guys are crazy. And so again, I cannot stress this enough. I will not encourage anybody to pre-order this game at all. And in fact, I would consider a success if on their launch weekend, say the game comes out on a Thursday, if they have 100 players for the first 4 days, and those 100 players are a handful of press and YouTubers and streamers who will get into the game and go, okay, I'm looking around, it's looking okay. Yeah, okay. I think this is looking good. Okay, everybody should be able to buy now. That's what I think the success.
Send them in. Yeah, opening weekend. Just you're sending the scouts in to be to check it out. Yeah.
Now, of course, there will be. Of course, there's going to be like people who are going to line up and pre-order it because, like, hey, it's Iron Man Simulator, and they want that. And what's the meme for it? Iron Man, Destiny Iron Man, or something like that. That's essentially what it is, and absolutely. And I don't necessarily like the concept of the suits. I think the suits are. I'm not a fan of the suits because I'm a fan of character creation and perfection. And the suit, the full body suit, kind of takes me a step back from being able to connect with the character that I'm playing, because again, if it's a suit that everybody else has the ability to put on, then what are you really? It's like, hey, I look like a cool guy, I'm playing this awesome character who happens to be a stormtrooper. Here's my armor. It looks like every other stormtrooper.
Well, I guess
it's that sense.
How much are you going to be able
to clone? Yeah.
Yeah, true. But how much are you going to be able to customize the suits? I mean,
yeah, and well, we don't know yet because we haven't really gotten a chance to see this.
But so, I mean, they might put that in because they might realize that people want that character creation, character customization. They want to make the character their own. I mean, maybe that's one of the ways that they're refocusing. Who knows? But that's just it. That's the whole point. Is who knows? We don't know at this point. And for a game that's at this late of a stage of development to be telling us now, oh, now we're going back to refocus on the story. Yeah, not thrilled, not excited.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not just story. I mean, there's lots of games that I play for the gameplay. I don't play for the story.
Right. Yeah. True. But you want from Bioware, like especially with the history they've had with amazing titles.
You expect that. You
expect good story. You expect an immersive world that you can get lost in, and you don't want loot box crap everywhere.
Yeah,
that
because you
just
don't get,
reminds you you're playing a game. Like,
yeah, because you don't get that ability in many of the other games out there. So yeah, this is a direction where, like, I really hope that they do it right. But I am still. I mean, we're gonna see a lot from this E3. They're gonna talk about it again. They're gonna showcase a lot more gameplay. I feel. This game is supposed to come out 2019, probably pretty early in the year.
which is too early.
Yeah.
Like, take it if you take it back to the drawing board. Give it another 2 years of development. If this is what you're doing with it, if this is the direction you're going with it, rebuild it. Like, obviously, you don't have to redesign and rebuild all the assets and things you built, but give it another 2 years. We'll wait for it. Trust me, we're more than willing to wait for Anthem at this point. So I think very possibly
It's
pushing it out in 2019 is gonna be bad for them.
It's not even on my buy list. Like,
Whereas if they were saying we're pulling it back, we're gonna release in 2021, and
well, at that point, the game is dated, right? Like, they do have to release this within either they have to release this either 2019 or 2020. If they wait till 2021, it's dated graphics at that point. It's dated gameplay, it's dated interaction. It's um like, the graphics they showed is great, is good, is high end, but it, it might do okay as like a launch title, or like some early on title. But at this point, it's
at this point, are they even gonna break even though?
well, I mean, at this point, it's like if they put it on to like 2022 or 2021, I mean, you're talking about them essentially having, you fall into the Duke Nukem Forever kind of game, where it's like everybody's expecting this game for years, for half a decade or more than a decade or whatever. At that point, you put it out, and if it's anything other than stellar, you will get just trashed. It doesn't matter if it's a good game. And Duke Nukem was not a good game. It was a terrible game. It was a piece of trash game. It, and
Yeah,
the amount of time that they spent on that, and the amount of iterations that they went through, and all they could come up with was a basic generic shooter with a bunch of really, really very bad jokes that just fell completely. Yeah, they're not going to do it. They're not. And so, no, but Bioware, you don't have another 2 years to work on this. You're going to have this out within 12 months from now. And if you don't have this out from 12 months from now, and if it's not good, then yes, your
well,
studio needs to look at either getting itself free from EA, which probably will never happen after the doctors left, or you're gonna have to look at, like, essentially breaking apart, because that's where the point is. If they cannot pull, if Anthem is not an amazing game in general, then I have no hope for Dragon Age 4. I have no hope for any other title that they ever put out ever again. Certainly not another Mass Effect, and certainly not Dragon Age. Because Dragon Age 3 was already shaky, shall we say. There were a lot of potential, there were a lot of them, like, just the fact that they went over the lore and they kind of stepped on themselves, and they've been kind of messing around with stuff, and I feel that they've kind of lost the original direction of that game. Like the direction of that game, where I felt that it should have been going, really just kind of veered off into some random thing. And now it's like, now we're going to be playing as the Seeker or something in the next one. It's just like, I'm like, why I really like Dragon Age Origins? Because it had the Warden, and it had you played this epic story of saving literally the world from infinite darkspawn. And where is that battle now? Oh, they haven't even touched that in the last little bit. Like, there was a DLC that you had where it was like, oh, hey, the Grey Wardens are under attack, and hey, we don't care. It's like, okay, right, okay, great. So what's the story about now? Well, it's about the wizards and them getting free of their magic and being able to do stuff now. And then, oh yeah, you remember that big surprise that we had in store for you about finding who was inhabiting the Eternal City? Well, it turns out that that's a big nothing burger right there. That's just that whole plot has fallen in on itself too. And at this point, you're just sitting here going like, I I want to support you guys, but honestly, I feel like you just like you promised a mountain, and we're in the valley now, checking out like frogs in the stream. It's like, guys, mountain. I want to go to the peak.
Right.
Oh, we're getting to the peak. We're just taking this really roundabout way. It's like, oh, for crying out loud.
But look, there's another mountain over there
Mm.
called CD Projekt Red, and there's another mountain over there, called. I mean, reckon Ubisoft has even put out some impressive titles this past year. So,
Well, and Ubisoft has just announced. Now, of course, we weren't huge fans of the Division. There was a lot of hope for it, and it kind of fell a little bit flat. But they had honestly done a lot of fixing a lot of the errors, and it has come back. And it came back, from what I've heard, it came back really, really well. And they've realized that they've hit the wall with that game, and that's why they've announced the Division 2. It's going to be a new area. It's going to be a new zone. I heard a rumor that it's going to be tropical based. That definitely is going to open up the different types of of cosmetics and customization that you can do. I've heard that they're going to incorporate more skills and abilities, and they're really going to open up the game. And I feel if it's how the Division is now, if it's more like that or an improvement, then yes, they've got a good game. And if that comes out at the same time as Anthem, as it stands right now, I have more trust in Division, which is saying something, than I do in Anthem right now. So that's yeah.
well, Division had its problems, but I had fun playing it, and it. I mean, I remember we had some good times playing it, even though it got old really fast.
But it did improve. Like the last couple of months, it really did it. Like it's a great game now. It's just it's too old.
It's a
for
little
us at this point.
too little, too late.
Well, no, it's not too little. It's a lot, but it's too late.
A lot too.
Like
Fair enough.
it's late
enough.
for
Yeah,
us
okay.
because as a concurrent channel, you kind of have to stay on top of what's going on, and you're kind of looking forward to the next thing. We don't want to be stuck in a game that came out a year and a half, 2 years ago that has hit kind of a semi wall. Not to say that we don't like older games. We have some very awesome stuff coming up very soon for some older games, but it's a little bit different in the sense of like how much of a time sink you can put into this kind of stuff. So
no, absolutely, we got to stay on the cutting edge of things,
mm-hmm.
and that's where we like to be.
So we will make a quick announcement here. We're going to have some really important Cyberpunk 2077 related news probably next week. It's been a while. We've got this last little bit of this leak that we received originally. So I think what we'll do is we'll go over kind of the whole story, and we'll kind of put some stuff together, and we're going to try and do that. So of course, stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter or on especially Discord. Hop in and join the Discord community. We will probably have a short update for that sometime in the middle of the week, and then we will let you know by Thursday or Friday for sure whether or not we're going to be talking about this last little bit of leaked information.
It all depends on what news drops this coming week. I mean,
yes, that plays a big part in it, because honestly, we were really tempted to do it today, but it's been so busy, and we've been so busy planning. We're going to have a great presence at E3 this year. We're going to have a whole whack of new content coming in May. We're gonna have some big surprises and some really awesome stuff. So it's been busy, but as far as Cyberpunk news, it was really dry week. It's been a really dry past 2 weeks. So
yeah, they're surprisingly silent over there right now.
If nothing drops this week, we will definitely most likely drop our last little bit. As you may or may not remember, we got a big collection of information. I had to verify a lot of it, and I will go through a bit of the story. I'll tell you a bit of the story, how we came into it won't give away too many details, but we'll give away a little bit more than we've talked about in the past. So yeah, so look forward to that. We will definitely tease it on the Discord. We'll definitely have some back and forth, and I believe most likely we will also have Mad Queen join us, and then we will see about a handful more guests coming out in the near future.
Mm-hmm. We always love having the Mad Queen join us. She's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Even for non-cyberpunk stuff, I'm like, hey, you could join us, talk about that, but then. Yeah,
she's doing a playthrough of God of War right now.
Oh yeah,
which is really good. And we will have a short little God of War video out this week. We haven't been able to really play it because we don't own PlayStations. So we'll have a short little clippy on it because it is a very good game, and it has been getting wild reviews, and I really appreciate where they put that. And I'm a huge fan of Christopher Judd. So I'm really glad that the game has launched to its current position. Really glad, slow clap and everything for it. So.
We launched a new series this week. I don't know if you caught it. It is called Arbitrary Scoring, and it is a new kind of review / first look at AAA games done in a comical way. We're getting tons of great feedback on this first episode. Some of you listening were in our test audience for it, and we got great feedback from you folks. Now it's not getting a ton of views because it's not a very searchable thing. So anyway, check it out, and if you like it, we would very much appreciate it if you would share it around. There's going to be more coming. Next one's going to be on The Witcher 3.
Let's know the feedback on it, because we don't know exactly how or in what ways we can. It's good to know in what directions we should expand. So let us know what you think on that. We'd love the feedback on that.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll be. I've got another episode in development. We're doing The Witcher 3 and then probably Fallout 4 for that series. So looking forward to that. They're a lot of fun to make, but they are a lot of work to make. So we definitely want to make sure we're doing it right. But definitely, yeah. If you wouldn't mind sharing that around. We'd very much appreciate that, and lots of other cool stuff happening this year. Now we're to the point now where we're live streaming every day, which is mind blowing to me. But we just want to thank everybody for supporting this show and for the great conversation in the chat. And I want to especially thank our Patreon supporters who are just helping us to expand and grow and remain stable as we continue to do this. I want to thank Old Man Manson and our two anonymous folks, our two anonymous supporters. Thank you so much for being there and just helping us do what we do and remain stable.
That's on Patreon.
That's on Patreon. Those are our Patreons. Yeah. So did I not say that? Sorry, my apologies.
No.
So don't forget to like and sub if you appreciate this weekly content, and if you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, we thank you for your follows and likes on iTunes. Thank you for subscribing and reviewing our show, and hey, feel free to join us next Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time for the live show, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news, updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ashenity, and on behalf of Cybsidian, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you later.